love it so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be
Exploring Your Dreams 2014, a live online class with Ragozzine, hosted by the Awakened Radio Network. When? January 25th, 2014 through April 5th. It's a bi-weekly class for 6 weeks. What time? 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. Where? The comfort of your own home. Do you know what your dreams mean? Do you know how they might be offering guidance and direction to you? Can you use your dreams to learn more about current or past issues? Want to find out? Ragozzine will bring you his insights, his intuition, years of research and personal one-on-one with clients into a bi-weekly class that lasts 1.5 hours here on the Awakened Radio Network. You can find out how to interpret, how to understand the messages in your dreams. Come to awakenedradio.net today. Look at the top where it says Exploring Dreams. Get all the information and register to find out dream analysis, dream symbols, dream fragments, forgiveness, health, abundance, meditation, stress, dream drama, archetypes, all manner of information that you need, step-by-step guidance, plus a lot of fun in a live classroom setting where you interact with other students as well as Rob as he walks you through the definitive, the best explanation of what your dreams mean and teaches you to interpret your dreams for your own wisdom and your own answers. Remember, awakenradio.net. You look towards the top of the page under the banner where it says Exploring Dreams. Get all the details, register, and sign up for Exploring Your Dreams in 2014 and beyond. Invite your family, your friends to join you.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Each week, we have a new conversation with a guest who will share their story with us about how they've changed or healed their own life. Listen to our discussion and be inspired. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Feel free to take part in our chat room, ask questions, and talk with our guests. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to Simply Conversations. I'm Rob Ragozzine, your host. It's December 29th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2013. Tonight my guest will be Robyn Scherr, who is a highly respected craniosacral practitioner, body worker, lecturer, author, and editor. She primarily uses craniosacral therapy to help her clients recognize and respond to their body's own unique needs and harness their own inner wisdom so they can create lasting change in their lives. She says, I use my hands to help you communicate with your body to find out the real story. When you know what your body's really saying, it's easier to make the changes in your tissues and in your life that let you live your life most fully. So with that, I welcome Robyn onto the show tonight. Hi, Robyn. How are you tonight?
Hi, Rob. I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well. Can you explain a little bit about what craniosacral therapy actually is?
I'd be happy to. A definition that I came up with for craniosacral therapy is that it's educated, specific, non-invasive touch that supports your body's innate ability to heal. So unlike other kinds of body therapy, in craniosacral therapy, we don't presume that the therapist knows what your body needs. We know that your body knows what it needs, and if we can just give it some support, it will show us the way through. It's named for the craniosacral system, which is the tissues and fluid that supports your central nervous system, so your brain and your spinal cord and the glands encased in there. How's that so far for a definition?
That's very good. Can you describe why people might come to see you, Robyn?
People tend to come to craniosacral therapy when they've tried a lot of other modalities that haven't helped, to be honest. When they've run the gamut of what the medical system has to offer and they still haven't found relief. Sometimes people have heard about the therapy and come to me before they've seen everyone else, but mostly folks are sort of running out of options. So, for instance, someone came to me recently who has had debilitating headaches for over 10 years. Medication just leaves her feeling drugged up. She doesn't have a particular diagnosis. Folks didn't really know what to do with her. She's tried all kinds of other bodywork modalities. None of them gave her lasting relief, so she came to craniosacral therapy. And I approached her without a plan, just meaning to listen to the tensions in her tissues and pay attention to where her body wanted to support itself and wanted some support from me, so that then, while she's not separate from her body, what I want to say is so she and her body can work together to make a lasting change. And within 2 visits, she was headache-free. Other people come to me. I see children on the autism spectrum. I see people with chronic conditions. I work with people who have ALS and Parkinson's. I also work with folks who are recovering from surgery. And I also work with people who simply want to get to know their insides better. They want to just know themselves better. And craniosacral therapy is a great way to do that.
And is there anything that we should be doing before we come to see you, or someone like you?
No.
Robyn?
No, you don't need to prepare a whole lot. It's good to come with an active curiosity about what's going on with you. People who come to see me don't need to do a lot of preparation either before or even when they walk in the door. The therapy is performed fully clothed as long as you're wearing clothing that you can move in easily. You don't even have to stay still on the table. I work with toddlers, so I'm very used to working with moving targets under the table, in the next room, walking around.
Now, does it bring up any feelings or memories or issues? What happens for people?
It can, and it doesn't have to. Sometimes when working with a long-standing pattern, as it begins to as we engage with it or as it begins to release, people may have memories of either the time they were injured or another time in their lives when they really began to guard around something. The difference between, say, craniosacral therapy and perhaps other kinds of work is that what we're not after here is catharsis. I don't find that necessarily changes things. We're after actual change in the tissue. So even when memories surface, those aren't the focus. The focus is on what's going on with your body. So oftentimes the way people describe it is that they may have memories of a time, but it doesn't become overwhelming. They may have feelings that come up, but they tend to rise up and work their way through and pass.
And next question that leads to is, how will people know that it's actually working for them?
People know because they feel better.
They feel better.
They feel better. When people first come to see me, I say that when folks make an appointment with me, we'll know pretty much right away over the phone if, they'll know if they like me as a human being, right? Do I sound like someone they'd want to spend an hour with? And then within a first session, we'll know if we're a good fit to work together. Do our styles match well? And most often within 3 sessions, we'll either have resolved what's going on or we'll be well on the road to that. So if people don't at least feel a good deal of hope and some change within 3 sessions, then it's time to look at referring either to another craniosacral practitioner or another modality. Which isn't to say that everyone gets all better and resolved within 3 sessions, but there should be movement toward that.
So, Robyn, ultimately, how many sessions would it take to pass those 3 sessions to connect with ourselves on a more deeper level and start to say, I really do feel better, or is it more ongoing? I guess it's a little bit of both.
Well, I mean, that's the tricky question, right? Every person comes in with a unique set of circumstances, and so it's really impossible for me to say, you, Rob, 2 sessions, all done, no problem.
It's not magic, but if you're committed to it, I guess that's what the question is. If you're committed to it and you'd like to continue working and you're a good match, then is there anything that's typical, or some people work a few months or maybe even longer?
I wish that I could tell you there was something absolutely typical, but there isn't. There are folks really who come in for 1 session or 2 sessions, and what they came in for is resolved and they moved on. And then there are some people who have really complex, long-standing problems or issues that they're working with, and they've worked with me for years. One of my favorite quotes is from my yoga instructor, who wrote, "Miracles are available, but most often they're the ones we create ourselves, step by conscious step." So I'm a helper and a facilitator, but really my clients do all the work, and sometimes it's speedy work, and sometimes it takes time. The difference here is that I'm never going to tell someone they're making progress when they feel they aren't. My clients are always the judge of that.
So you'll tell them the truth?
As I see it, absolutely.
Yes. And it's ultimately allowing them to move their bodies in a way that can heal.
Yes. Yes, because I won't have a protocol or a plan. My job is to listen as closely as I can with my hands and really support their body in moving toward greater health. And you asked, I think your question was, how many sessions does it take for me to really get to know, my inner landscape, my inner self? And if this is what you're interested in, within 1 session, you'll be communicating with your own inner wisdom.
Robyn, do you see that people that just come in to work with you without having done any kind of other prior work? Or do you see that they've already been doing some inner landscape work for themselves?
Most of the people who come see me have not done inner landscape work, or not at least in any way that they would describe it. You see a good number of people who have mindfulness practices or physical practices that they do, but for the very most part, the people who come see me as new clients, this is a new concept for them.
And do they notice that it's working immediately?
I think it varies. Oftentimes,
yes.
I introduce the concept. I will put my hands on, and it is as simple to begin with as just tracking sensation. If we want to begin a dialogue with the wisdom of our body, we can learn to pay attention to the signals it gives, and the signals bodies give are sensations.
Now, is there one primary complaint that people have coming to see you? Like they can't move, they have a stiff back?
I don't have any typical clients. The complaint is always, I wish I felt better. And for some folks, that's headaches. For other people, it's gastrointestinal stuff. For some people, it's emotional. For some folks, it's a bum foot. It always has its own flavor. And even if I saw all folks just with headaches, every person and every headache is unique. There are people whose headaches stem from their low backs, and there are people whose headaches stem from a sprained knee. So there's really no commonality other than folks want to feel better. Now, is there any reference point in the brain
that we can talk about, or our bodies, that the craniosacral work is actually working to heal and affect?
Well, craniosacral therapy is actually a whole body treatment, but I can tell you how that works by starting with the craniosacral system. Right, so craniosacral therapy, named for the craniosacral system, which is the tissues and fluids that supports your central nervous system, and that's your brain and your spinal cord. So if you picture that, you've got your head at one end, right, and your tailbone at the other. That's cranio and sacral, and those are the outer bounds of that system. That system is connected to all the rest of your connective tissue. So the craniosacral system has influence over every other part of your body, your digestive system, your lungs, your knee, and conversely, tension in your knee or your digestive system or in your lungs, then through that connective tissue system, through the fascia, also affects the craniosacral system and the central nervous system.
And that helps people to heal and shift as you work with that.
It does, because I'm supporting the entire body. One of the best things that craniosacral therapy does is it takes us out of the fight or flight response. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yes, so the stress response, right, that we tend in our society to live in pretty much all the time. Craniosacral therapy takes us out of fight or flight and into the rest and digest system. So more of a parasympathetic response as opposed to a sympathetic response. And in the real world of neuroscience, it's more complicated than that, but as a sort of cartoon picture that's generally correct and pretty easy to understand, craniosacral therapy moves you from fight or flight, in which healing is really impossible because the body's priorities when we are frightened, when we're worried about our survival, even if it's just that someone just cut us off on the freeway and we're pissed about it, at that point the chemical messengers in our body are not interested in healing and resting and relaxing. They're interested in survival. And when our body's interested in survival, it doesn't make long-term plans. It's really only interested in getting through the moment. So with craniosacral therapy, one of the first things that happens is your body will, as we put it, downregulate. It'll move into a resting and digesting phase, which is the atmosphere that your body needs in order to create new tissue, new healthy tissue rather than scar tissue, to create chemicals that allow you to feel good and not depressed or angry or upset.
Robyn, can you give us an example of how to listen to our bodies?
I think that the easiest and best way is to feel for sensation and follow that. So when I want to tune into my own body, I feel what's contacting a surface. So the easiest way I have to get in is like right now I feel myself sitting in a chair. So I pay attention to the sensation of my back on the chair. Pay attention to my legs. Right now I only have one foot on the ground and feel sort of what the pressure is between the floor and my foot and the chair and the rest of my body. And from there I try to be curious. And so I might notice, right now I notice a lot of comfort in my belly, which is interesting to me. And then feeling into that comfort and feeling all of its flavors.
And maybe keep a logbook, too.
You can keep a logbook. You can also do it moment to moment. You know.
Well, a lot of people might be feeling, as you were just talking about stress, and we had that question in the chat, and I was thinking that's a good way to truly notice what's going on an ongoing basis. Because we talk about being stressed, but then we don't notice it.
Right.
Only briefly, and then we let it go, and then we run about our day.
Right, or we try to change it. Oh, gee, my shoulders are tight. Let's try to bring them down. I'll watch my clients as they come in and say, yeah, I was really stressed, and then I thought I just need to get my shoulders down. And my question instead to them is, well, how about if we take a minute and just feel what it feels like to have stress in your shoulders. And so when people work with me and say someone's shoulders are tense and tight, I don't try to change that. Because when I was doing massage therapy years ago, right, I would get into the muscles and try to lengthen the fascia and try to get those muscles to soften. And now, over the last 10 plus years as a craniosacral therapist, I simply hold that tension. And for the most part, when our bodies recognize that we recognize the tension, it begins to resolve itself.
Now, Robyn, you had talked a little bit earlier about the trauma and the grief resolution, and you have published some papers on the use of bodywork for that?
Years ago, I published in a Bodywork magazine about working with, there was a really tragic airline accident well over a decade ago in California, and I and a team of massage therapists went to work on the airline personnel. And what we found that was needed, right, folks had said, oh, we could really use some deep tissue massage therapists, and what we found is that folks really couldn't tolerate deep tissue. What we did was simply place our hands on their shoulders and we sat with them. Because any attempt to overpower the tension that they were feeling
Yes.
Was not helpful. But being with them as they felt it and holding their tissue, supporting it, that was helpful.
So it's about just being with them, actually, and thusly being with yourself.
Right. And, as a craniosacral therapist, I am being with people in an educated way, right? I know a lot about the system. I understand how the body works. I, know how to contact specific places in the body and how to support those in an optimal way. But at the end of the day, I think what's most therapeutic is when we can be present with each other.
Now, if someone is experiencing this and they're tentative about coming to you, what would you recommend them doing or reading about, perhaps, before they come and see you?
Well, before last year, there really wasn't much. I mean, people could look at my website, and there were some videos on the internet that people could see. But just this past year, Kate published a book by a good friend of mine. I actually edited the book. So Kate McKinnon wrote a book called From My Hands and Heart, Achieving Health and Balance with Craniosacral Therapy. And it is a really lovely introduction to the therapy for clients. It explains what the therapy is all about. It gives a lot of case studies. It explains how to approach a session, what sessions are like, and also how to get the most out of the work. A lot of the stuff that you and I are talking about, but in depth and with examples.
So that could be a good resource for someone that wants to come but isn't sure about everything that's involved.
Right, or just is curious about craniosacral therapy and wants a more detailed explanation than what you and I will be able to talk about in the hour that we've got together. Yeah.
Yes. Now, if someone wants to come to see you and would like to come on an ongoing basis, do they need to make any major changes, or such as diet, exercise, meditation, any of those things, or will those come naturally to them?
I imagine those will come naturally to them. I am not a diet expert or an exercise expert. I'm not a psychotherapist. All of that stuff, while I'm interested in hearing about my client's process, all of that's so far outside my scope of practice, it really isn't my business, to use kind of a strong term. I am there to support their body while they're with me, and my clients really make their own discoveries. And they often do. I've had clients on the table say, every time you put your hands on my stomach, I see a loaf of bread in my mind. I'm going to give up wheat. and it turns out to have been a good decision for them, but it certainly wasn't my idea.
No. Well, we're coming up on our first break, so would you share your contact information so that people can find you?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. My website is www.livinginthebody.net. So that's livinginthebody.net. You can also find me on Facebook at Living in the Body, Robyn Scherr Craniosacral Therapy. And you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Living in the Body.
And do you have any upcoming lectures or classes that people might attend?
What I do have coming up in February, at the end of February, February 23rd, Kate McKinnon, who wrote the book I just spoke about, and I are going to be teaching a one-day class about craniosacral therapy, really aimed at clients and folks who just want to help their friends and family. It's called Share Care, and it introduces you to the basic concepts of craniosacral therapy, gives you a really good introduction and a hands-on practice into how we touch in craniosacral therapy, which is really different than other types of body work modalities, other types of manual therapy. And then you'll get to try your hand at a few techniques and really great at-home self-help and help your friends and family techniques. And you can find out about that on my website, livinginthebody.net. You can also go to the institute where we study craniosacral therapy. We're teaching for the Upledger Institute, so that's upledger.com, upledger.com. The class will be in Livermore, California, February 23rd, one day, and folks who sign up for that, if it turns out that they're interested in continuing with the craniosacral therapy curriculum, they get a discount on Craniosacral Therapy 1, so it's a great day. Also, if people are interested in having a session with me, I am offering multi-hands therapy in conjunction with Kate McKinnon and a supporting therapist February 5th through 7th in Lafayette, California. My practice is currently full, but on multi-hands days, when more than one therapist at a time would be working with you, we have plenty of room, and that's also on my website.
And do you have any other resources that people might explore? YouTube videos or something of that nature, so they can find out more about you as well?
I don't have any videos on YouTube. I do have a Pinterest page that has a set of 9 what I call craniosacral therapy public service announcements, really simple, short sentences that explain this therapy in plain language.
Okay. So don't be afraid and come explore and learn more about it at the end of February, and I'll have those links up in the forum and in the chat later if you can send them to me. And we're coming up on break, but when we do come back, you can call in at 334-649-7204 and ask questions for Robyn if you're interested in learning more about craniosacral work, or at Awakened Radio to Skype, or click on awakenedradio.net and then click the live chat tab and join us in the chat room and ask your question there. And we have 1 minute till break, so I'll talk about my upcoming class, which starts January 25th. If you're interested in learning more about your dreams and what they may mean for you, please come to Awakened Radio and click on the Dream link, and it'll take you to a page that talks all about the ongoing class starting on January 25th and then every other week thereafter. And it's an opportunity to really explore your dreams in a fun and interactive way, and plenty of information right on the website. And when we come back, we'll be returning to our talk with Robyn Scherr. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
Awakened Radio Network is brought to you by our sponsors. Visit and let them know you heard about them here on the Awakened Radio Network. Do you have health and medical problems the regular medical system cannot seem to figure out how to fix? If the answer is yes, then check out RifeEnergyMedicine.com. That is Rife spelled R-I-F-E. RifeEnergyMedicine.com for a new way to approach many of your health problems. RifeEnergyMedicine.com. Are you looking for a fun and easy and productive way to promote and advertise your personally owned business? If so, the Awakened Radio Network just might have the solution for you. Visit awakenedradio.net and look up under our products and services tab. Or add Awakened Radio to your Skype contact and send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message. Or you can add DonnaDevane@gmail.com to your email contacts and send Donna an email letting her know that you would like to set a time to go over how to advertise your business in a way that makes getting sales easy without the struggle and a whole lot of fun. Do you have a message, something that just burns within you that you couldn't stop talking about even if someone offered to pay you to? Well, you just might be the type of host that we're looking for here on the Awakened Radio Network. Add Awakened Radio to your Skype contacts or send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message, DonnaDevane@gmail.com. And let's set up a time to talk and see if you and Awakened Radio Network are on the same consciousness wavelength. We might can work together and provide a win-win where your message goes out on our airwaves, reaching our global listeners, bringing fun, self-growth, and a whole lot of excitement to both your life and the Awakened Radio family.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Each week, we have a new conversation with a guest who will share their story with us about how they've changed or healed their own life. Listen to our discussion and be inspired. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Feel free to take part in our chat room, ask questions, and talk with our guests. Okay, we're back with Robyn Scherr, and if you have a question for her about craniosacral therapy or healing in general, you can join us at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab or call 334-649-7204 or at Awakened Radio to Skype. And I don't see any questions in there right now. So, Robyn,
Yes,
let's
Rob.
talk about your work with the Upledger Institute.
What would you like to know? Let's see. I've been studying with the Upledger Institute since 2001. Now a teaching assistant for all levels of their curriculum. And what I love about studying at the Upledger Institute is they really take people from all sorts of bodywork backgrounds and help them find their way to become craniosacral therapists. They teach them to hone their touch and then teach them how to follow a client's process so that we're not leading or overpowering. Just really excellent curriculum all the way around.
Now, Robyn, is there any prerequisites to becoming a craniosacral therapist?
At the Upledger Institute, you can take the beginning level courses as a layperson. You don't have to be a certified or licensed professional at all. If you want to actually take the higher level courses and become a craniosacral therapist, become certified in the therapy, you'll need to have something that allows you to put your hands on people. So for me, I'm a massage therapist, and I have my certification in California. That's what allows me to put my hands on people and work with them. And I hold my diplomate level certification in craniosacral therapy through the Upledger Institute, and that's the highest level of certification you can have in the field. But for people to begin, they can begin with just one day and learn some very basic techniques to help their friends and families and even their pets.
Okay. Robyn, we have a question in the chat, and that's, can the craniosacral work help with joint and muscle disorders such as TMJ?
TMJ disorders tend to respond really well to craniosacral therapy. Most of the people who come to see me with jaw pain, who have diagnoses of temporomandibular joint disorder, right, that's the jaw joint, have seen a lot of dentists and a lot of people who work in their mouths only. And while in craniosacral therapy we can do mouth work and often do, we also look to see where else in the body strain might be, because oftentimes strain that ends up in the jaw doesn't necessarily start in the head. So it might be somewhere else in the body. And if all of our focus is only on where the pain is, we really might be missing the cause. And so what
we're only looking at the symptom.
Right. And that's something that's one of the central tenets of craniosacral therapy is, while we know that symptoms tell us something, right? People's pains and aches and troubles absolutely tell us something about what's going on with them, but that doesn't mean that that's the root cause.
But it can help with the TMJ, and
absolutely,
they can
yes.
continue to work with their dentist, of course.
Right. I see a lot of people with jaw pain, people with TMJD diagnoses, so temporomandibular joint disorder diagnoses, and so folks will work either just with me or with me and a jaw physical therapist or with me and their dentist. And when it's appropriate, dentists and I will communicate about what we're doing.
Now, there's really no specific illness that craniosacral work helps with. It helps with everything, correct?
Well, craniosacral therapy helps people. Right? So I don't treat illnesses, and I don't fix diagnoses, and I don't fix illnesses. But what I do is help people's bodies handle their stresses and strains better. And when the stress and strain is off the body, it can focus on healing. We tend to develop symptoms when our body has too much to carry, when we have unresolved things, like, how can I put it?
So you help the body find its own balance, and it's less about what you're trying to make the body do versus letting it happen for someone.
Right. I'm absolutely not trying to have anyone do anything. I think one way I can express it is I have in front of me my little public service announcements for craniosacral therapy, and in one of them I write, life experiences are processed through your body, and when they're overwhelming, they're held there. So that's really what traumatizes us, right? When something is overwhelming to us, our bodies can't process it through, and so then we hold on to tension from that time. And our bodies will work around all that tension until we simply have too much of it, and that's when we start developing symptoms. So what craniosacral therapy does is it helps our bodies release the effects of our held life experiences.
Now, is there anything that you recommend that people go and seek out to learn more about so that they can help their bodies heal with this process?
Well, I think the book From My Hands and Heart is really excellent, and what folks tend to do is they find their own way. Some people begin to meditate. Others begin to do yoga. For instance, for folks with jaw pain, there are self-help techniques that you can do, and that one of them is described in the book. And if your person is still around who has the jaw question, I can actually describe it over the phone. I think it would work for folks. Does that sound like a good idea, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, self-help technique for the jaw. So what you do is you take your fingertips, so your 4 fingertips, and place them just south, so just below the jaw joint. And if you need to find where your TMJ is, you just take your fingers up along the side of the face and and close your mouth a little bit, and where the movement is, you want to go just below that. So for most people, that's just about the level of the ear opening. So just below that, rest your fingertips on the long part of your jawbone.
And don't press hard, press lightly.
Well, rest your fingers there and pretend that you have little gecko pads, little suction cups on the tips of your fingers.
Okay.
Okay? And then from there, so those gecko pads, those little suction cups on your fingers are going to keep your fingertips in contact with your jawbone. You're not pressing in tightly, you're just making contact there with the skin and the bone. From there, once you've got your suction pads in place in your mind's eye, you simply relax your hands and your arms and your elbows, and the weight of your forearms will begin to draw your jawbone downward, down, if you're standing, down towards your feet, and if you're sitting, down towards your pelvis. Don't pull, and don't press in any more than you need to keep your hands in place. And what you'll notice, and I'm doing this a little bit now as I'm talking to you, so my voice might get a little funny, is you'll notice that your jaw will begin to relax, and it will begin to come down towards your feet slightly. Most people will feel interesting sensations kind of along the level of the eyes, right along the side of the head. You might feel an opening and relaxing feeling at the top of your head. You may also notice that your jaw begins to come forward. Your hands will just naturally not move from where they are, but your hands and your jaw will begin to move forward just a bit. And at some point, either you'll get bored or your hands will just naturally lift off. And that's a very safe way to work with the muscles of the jaw. If you press or if you pull, your jaw muscles will not like that. It will not be a comfortable technique. But if you can keep your hands and your arms relaxed, I think you'll really like it.
I'll have to try that again. It worked, but I only was using one hand, as I have other things I'm doing here. But
exactly. Yeah, it's best with 2 hands. You want to keep a hand on each side.
Yeah. So, and I have a headset on, so it's not. It worked, and I definitely felt the top of my head relaxing.
Nice.
So.
It's a great thing to do at stop signs or stoplights, right?
Yes.
Take your hands off the wheel for a moment.
Well, if you definitely park somewhere,
yeah.
Be safe. But yeah, that would be a good opening to a meditation.
Absolutely, and it's a nice way to begin to notice body sensation. Right? We notice emotions a lot, and emotions are our body functions, but what we call first-order sensation, right? Warmth, cool, tingling, spreading, tightness, all of those things are ways that the body communicates with us, and the more that we can pay attention to that, the more fluent we're going to be in our body's language.
So, Robyn, do you recommend that we pay attention to what the signals that our body is sending us, so that when we feel like we have a headache, for instance, we can feel where it feels painful and just start to mention like throbbing or pins and needles before we reach for the medicine?
Even as you're reaching for the medicine, I have no problem with reaching for the medicine, but I think when we have pain, I think our natural tendency is to contract from it and either and try not to feel it. But an interesting thing often happens when we can simply feel the sensation it's often not as intense or unpleasant or scary as we might think it would be. And it can actually be really interesting.
How can it be interesting, Robyn?
Well, I had a client recently, we can talk about headaches, who had frequent headaches, and she came in with one. And so I simply asked her to feel what she felt. And she was saying, it's terrible, it's awful. And then she began to actually feel the sensation in her body. And what she noticed is that it had a throbbing quality to it. And it wasn't terrible pain all the time. It was terrible pain a second or two at a time. And then that pain would ebb, and then another throb would come. And she actually began to feel into the pattern of that. And as she paid attention to that and got curious about it, and as I was able to support her body, I supported her tailbone and some of her ribs, she was able to feel a connection in between the pain in her head and where my hands were, and then she got more curious about that. And as she got curious and paid attention, her body really began to shift, and so did her headache.
So it's a combination of allowing and paying attention. We're not trying to force anything to happen, but by paying attention, you can allow your body to process what's happening.
Right. When we're on our own, that's what we've got. And then with a trained craniosacral therapist, you have the added bonus of trained, effective, non-invasive support.
And what's your biggest aha moment when you've, over the years, when you've been helping people with this?
My biggest aha moment?
Well, it doesn't have to be mind-blowing, but it could be something that simply amazed you.
My clients amaze me all the time. I never know what's going to happen in a session. And whenever I think I know what's going to happen, I'm usually wrong. What's always delightful to me is how deeply and quickly babies and children will process. So something that, say, for me, because I like to think about everything, might take me several sessions. Often with a baby or small child, it's just giving their body a little bit of support, and off they go. And what I love about children is when their bodies have a shift, they naturally just get up and start to move around and feel into what's new for them. And more I'm finding that my adults will do that too. So recently I had a college athlete come in. She had sprained her knee. And so we're working with her leg and her hip, and every time she began to feel something that changed and was different, she was so excited to get up off the table and try it out. And I think that's another thing about craniosacral therapy that I love, is that it's so participatory. It's not client lies on the table, therapist does a lot of things, and then the session's over and the client gets up and gets to feel into whatever may or may not have happened. This changes, every moment through the session and really began to integrate them.
Speaking about that, Robyn, do you have some other kind of exercise similar to one we just did a few moments ago that people might try to gain some more insight into the craniosacral work?
Well, we were talking about how people can get a sense of their own bodies, and I'd gladly give folks an exercise that's sort of modified from a Feldenkrais approach that can really put you in touch with yourself in a way that maybe you haven't had a chance to be before. So, ready?
Ready.
Okay. So if it's comfortable for you and you're safe, go ahead and close your eyes. And if it's not safe for you to close your eyes, then I'm going to ask that you not do this. And on an exhalation, imagine that your eyes can travel a little bit farther back in your head, just gently, easy. Your muscles don't do any work. And then on your next exhalation, imagine that your eyes travel down the center of your head and land right about at right about at your throat. And then on your next exhalation, let your eyes travel down to right behind your heart. And once they've settled there, let your eyes see into the back of your heart and notice what you see. No strain, just curiosity. And some people see colors with this. Some people have sensation. Some people actually get really anatomically detailed, interesting pictures in their mind's eye. And
I'm seeing a bright golden color.
Lovely. How is that for you?
That's great. Feels good.
Yeah. Notice what it feels like to gaze out toward your heart. And you can stay here as long as you like. You can also have your eyes travel anywhere else in your body. You can, on exhalations, take your eyes down toward your liver or toward your stomach, anywhere you like, and just get that kind of perspective on the inside of your body. Yeah, how's it for you now, Rob?
That felt very good. I stayed at the heart, but I'm sure other people travel around.
You can travel to a big toe.
Yes.
I find a nice way to come out is to then, on exhalations, just slowly bring your awareness of your eyes back up, 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 and then to the back of your head, and then forward again. My tendency is to always just come right back into regular reality, but I think it's really nice to take a gradual approach.
Well, be slow and gentle, and don't force yourself.
Right, no forcing.
Just allow. That was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And if we have more time, I can give folks an idea of the kind of attention that a craniosacral therapist pays, because I know I've talked a lot about supporting and paying attention.
We still have a few more minutes left tonight.
Okay, then let's try this. Most people like to go to the beach, so go ahead and imagine yourself at a beach.
Okay.
Okay. So feel the air on your skin and the sun on your face. Might hear some birds calling in the distance, and feel the spray of the water, the sand under your toes. And now see, can you feel the sand on your toes and the spray of the water?
I definitely can.
Right. Can you also at the same time hear the bird? And what I'd ask you to do is to play with how you notice. Most of us either notice mostly with our eyes or with our ears or kinesthetically with our senses, right, by touch.
Yes. Which sense is strongest?
Right. You know, which sense is strongest for you?
Well, for me, since I've been practicing, the seeing is very strong, but also the kinesthetic experience of feeling the sand and being on the beach.
Right. For most of us, we have one or maybe two senses that we really prioritize over the others.
Right.
With craniosacral therapy, what a skilled craniosacral therapist can do is really pay attention all at the same time while picking things out as they come up. So I feel the change in my client's tissue. I'm hearing what she's saying. I'm also noticing what's happening in my own body. It's a lot of different layers of paying attention.
So it's an expansion in your awareness.
I think that's a good way to put it. It's an expansion in my awareness, and also a practiced noticing, so that if something in all of this changes, even minutely, if I'm skilled enough and on my game that day, I will pick up on that rather than looking for what's familiar or like many therapies will do, looking for what's wrong. Instead, we look for what's changing and what's working.
Well, we've come to the end of the show, unfortunately, but can you share your links with us again?
Gladly. My website, where you can find out most everything about me and my work, is www.livinginthebody.net. I'm also on Facebook at Living in the Body, Robyn Scherr, Craniosacral Therapy. And on Twitter, my Twitter handle is @LivingInTheBody.
And at the end of February, you'll be offering a one-day class?
Right. At the beginning of February, February 5th through 7th, I'll be offering multi-hand sessions for 3 days with Kate McKinnon. So we'll be working together on clients. It's an excellent way to experience the work. It's also a really great way if you are working on specific issues and want to get some depth in your work. Come and see us. Information on my website on the events page, February 5th through 7th in Lafayette, California. And then also February 23rd is a one-day Craniosacral Therapy Share Care class. It's aimed at just everyday folks. You don't have to be a therapist. You don't have to be a body worker of any stripe. But if you would like to learn some basic techniques about craniosacral therapy and sort of the nuts and bolts about how the therapy works, get some hands-on skills that you can bring to your friends and your family and your pets, that's February 23rd in Livermore, California. And you can find out about that on my website, livinginthebody.net, and also at upledger.com. That's www.upledger.com.
And pay attention to your body and begin to notice how you feel moment to moment.
Pay attention to sensation and start putting some names to that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the show,
Thanks
Robyn.
so
You've
much
left
for
us
having
with
me, Rob.
some good exercises and some helpful information.
I really appreciate it, Rob. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And that was Robyn Scherr, and I'll provide the links that she gave us tonight in the forum when the show is posted in a few days. So please do visit her site, and if you're in California, go and attend the lectures she's teaching and experience craniosacral work for yourself. And now, I had mentioned at the middle of the show that I'm offering a dream class starting on January 25th. So if you've been wondering about what a particular dream means for a long time, or having recurring dreams, now's the opportunity to truly explore them and not be scared or frightened of them or just dismiss them. We'll take an in-depth look at them and work with your dreams through a series of 6 sessions over 3 months, starting in end of January, February, March, and ending in April 5th. So it'll be a great opportunity to truly deepen to your own dream work and learn all about how to break the dream down into separate parts, to perhaps act out some of the parts, and truly explore in a meaningful way what your dreams mean for you. And it, again, starting January 25th, and I'll have take-home work, exercises, and interactive work while we're online during each class. So please do come to Awakened Radio and review the class and join up. And, well, that's been entertaining this week with Robyn Scherr. Please stay tuned next week for another episode of Simply Conversations. I look forward to talking with you again next week.
Cause we're
Thanks for listening.
awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened, come and join our love, it's so right.